Hola, estudiantes de Español 1. Your grammar topic 18 in Unidad 7 is stem changing verbs. This is, I feel like I always say this, but this is a really detailed grammar topic in which you will need to listen very carefully and be detailed in your note taking and make sure you write things down accurately and thoroughly. So the first thing that we're going to do is look at some examples of sentences, again with the bolded word in green as the keyword and the focus word that you're going to look at. You will be writing down the bolded words in green that are italicized, and then I'll tell you what you're going to do with it. So these two sentences say, pido 3 regalos para mi cumpleaños. And pedimos la paella en el restaurante. So if you've been studying your vocab, you should be able to translate this for the most part with pido coming from the verb pedir, which means to order or to ask for. And regalos is presents, you know your number 3, and then mi cumpleaños, my birthday. So para is really the only thing we haven't focused on, which means the word for. So pido 3 regalos, I ask for 3 gifts for mi cumpleaños is my birthday. Again, you're going to write down just the word pido. The second one, pedimos la paella en el restaurante. Pedimos comes from the same verb that pido comes from, which is pedir, to ask for or to order. In this case, we're talking about the restaurant, so we're going to use the translation order. We see the imos ending, so it's we order paella, Spanish dish, in the restaurant. So writing down pido and pedimos. Your task when you write these down is to do 2 things. Really simple. You're going to underline everything except for the ending and circle the ending. And when I say ending, I'm referring to the ending charts that we learned when we did regular verb conjugations. So your AR endings, your ER endings, and your IR endings. You should be able to identify those based on what you have memorized in your charts. You're circling that and underlining everything else. The underlined part will be called the stem, and the circled part will be called the ending. So in pido, you underline pid, and you circle o. In pedimos, you underline ped, and you circle imos. You'll do the same thing for each of the italicized, bolded, green words. In the next 2 sentences, mi madre sirve la comida y las bebidas. Servimos a los invitados en la fiesta. Envuelvo los regalos mejor que tú. Envolvemos muchos regalos cada año. ¿Puedes comprar los globos para la fiesta? Podemos comprar todas las decoraciones. Alicia prefiere el regalo pequeño. ¿Qué preferís hacer primero? Ellos quieren romper la piñata. ¿Queréis romper la piñata? You will write down sirve, servimos, envuelvo, envolvemos, puedes, podemos, prefiere, preferís, quieren, queréis. And again, your task is to underline the stem and circle the ending. The endings are the obvious part. That might be easier to circle those first, and then underline the stem, which is everything else. So include every letter as the stem. Only the ending you're going to circle. Again, you probably need to look back at your ending charts if you don't have them memorized. So don't forget those regular verb endings. I really want you to write these down again with the accents. It's just good to have the repetition and to make sure that you have these endings in lots of different places in your notes for quick reference. You have your AR endings, your ER endings, and your IR endings. Jot them down quickly. Make sure you label them, although it's pretty obvious which ones go with which type of verb. But again, your AR, o, as, a, amos, ais, an, accent on vosotros on the A. ER endings, o, es, e, emos, eis, en, accent on the E for vosotros. And IR endings, o, es, e, imos, is, en, accent on the I for vosotros. You should know these by heart, but again, just put them down in your notes real quick, making sure that they're accurate. So regarding this actual grammar topic, what are stem changing verbs? Okay, stem changing verbs have changes in the endings and in the stems. That is the main difference. So far, we've been conjugating verbs where the only thing you're doing is changing that ending using the charts above. But with stem changing verbs, you have to change something in the first part of the word also. And then only the nosotros and vosotros forms do not have a change in the stem. So it's everything except for nosotros and vosotros. Those two things are very important to write down as well. All right, so we have a stem changing verb example. Make sure you copy every bit of this down, including the bolded outlined parts of the chart that make that little L shape that you'll see in a second. The title is important, the servir, the translation to serve, and the parentheses is extremely important to this grammar topic. You must understand why there is a letter change in the parentheses and what it means, because that indicates the type of stem changer that we're going to be doing. So the verb servir, the stem is serve and the ending is ir. And you'll notice that as we go through the conjugations, the ones that are slightly being tinted as I go through, the ones on the left and the bottom right, those are changing from the E in the stem to now an I in the stem. It will not apply to the nosotros and vosotros. So the yo form is sirvo, not servo. You have to do two changes, the ending and the stem. And then sirves, notice again the I changed from the E in the infinitive, sirve, in the bottom right, sirven. So it's this L shape. If you can remember the L shape, some people say, some teachers call it a boot verb because they put little shoelaces and it looks like a boot, or a shoe verb. It's all of the ones on the left and the bottom right. I like to call them L verbs because it's really simple to remember that, and it just looks like a big L. So sirvo, sirves, sirve, and sirven are all changed from E to I, but the nosotros and vosotros don't. Servimos, servis. You just do those like you would do a regular verb. And that's E to I stem changer. Then we have another example that I want you to copy down just like you did servir is dormir. Dormir, to sleep. The parentheses is important. Make sure you write down O to UE. And again, as we go through the conjugations, you'll see that the O in the L shape is changing to UE. So we have the stem is dorm. The change in the stem is the O will change to UE. And we use our IR endings like you would for a normal verb. So the yo form, duermo, and then duermes, duerme, and then the bottom right, ellos and ellas and ustedes is duermen. The top two on the right never stem change. For any verb, it never will. Dormimos, dormis. So you notice the only thing that changed in the top two on the right are the endings. In the L shape, we change the ending and the stem. Again, that's an O to UE stem changer. Okay, write this one down as well. Empezar, to begin, is an E to IE stem changer. This is a side note that you can write down if you feel like you need to add this to your notes. Sometimes there are two of the same vowels in the stem. For example, in empezar, the stem is empez. So if you're not sure which of the vowels to change, if there's two of them, for example, this is an E to IE, and there's an E at the beginning and E in the middle, you're going to change the second E in the stem. So that's why that one is bolded, empezar. The second E will change. So the stem is empez using AR endings. We have empiezo, empiezas, empieza, empezamos, empezáis, empiezan. So the nosotros and vosotros did not change. For jugar, your last example to write down is a U to UE stem changer. The U in the stem is changing. That's AR endings. Notice again, only in the L shape, they're going to change. Nosotros and vosotros do not. So we have juego, juegas, juega, jugamos, jugáis, and juegan. I'll give you a minute to copy that down. You might need to pause. And then lastly, there are other verbs that do this as well. These are not the only four verbs that do it. You are going to copy down verbs that are similar to this. And also, in addition to this list, there are other verbs in the Quizlet, or in the vocab list that you have that in parentheses say O to UE or E to I or E to IE, you're not going to limit yourself to just the verbs that I'm telling you in this video lesson. You're responsible for knowing that if you see that in parentheses, you have to consider it a stem changer and do what it says in parentheses. So here's just a few other examples to write down. Pedir and decir are E to I. You have a little reminder that decir is a yo-go, that irregular yo verb, so that would be yo digo. Notice how the E changed to I there. And you already have the verb chart for decir, but the E goes to I. So pido, pides, pide, pedimos, pedis, piden, and so on. You've probably seen those little parentheses in Quizlet and wondered what they're for. Now you know. Another example of an O to UE, just like dormir, would be costar and almorzar. Those are both O to UE stem changers. Don't forget the endings are still going to be either AR, ER, IR. That's why you have to have those ending charts memorized. Pensar, E to IE, just like empezar. Querer is E to IE. And then again, others are noted in Quizlet. So if you see that parentheses, now you know what it means and you know how to do it. If you have questions about the grammar topic, let me know and we'll do some práctica in class.